So I want to briefly talk about strategy. Strategy comes from military. Why? In the history of humankind, in the military people have to solve the same problems for the first time that now we solve in the world of business. Mainly, we need to solve how to manage a vast amount of people, how to set up goals for them, how to make sure that they can achieve those goals. Companies are quite recent things. Companies been there for maybe 200 years. In the military, these problems of goal setting, of analyzing of what's happening, it's been there for thousands of years. I will illustrate the story of how military deals with strategy and what is basically the prerequisites of a robust strategic plan on a battle, on a story from an army, from military. The battle is called Battle of Zhuolu and happened in China several hundred years before Christ. Now, in this battle, the two mighty forces faced each other. It was the forces of Yellow Emperor and the forces of Trio, who was the leader of wild tribes. See, China at that time has a trouble with wild tribe chipping away their territory, right? So Yellow Emperor decided to stop that, that's enough, it's enough, and decided to attack these wild tribes led by this mighty hero Trio. But when the battle was about to happen, the Yellow Emperor found out that actually there's a problem because his forces count only 20,000 people. 20,000, whereas Trio had at his disposal 80,000 people. Wow, what a difference, right? So what should be done next, right? Yellow Emperor had at his disposal a great advantage. It was the most cutting-edge piece of technology that any army had at that time. It was called a south-facing chariot, and it was like a small cart with a wheel, and there was a figure on top of it, the wheel, that was basically like a human figure, like showing direction. It was made of wood, and it was the most advanced piece of technology, at that time. What was the purpose of that? The purpose of that was to show directions. So once you set this thing up, it would actually always be showing in the same direction. In other words, you will move the card anyhow you move the card, the figure is still showing the same, pointing in the same direction. Okay, so that was a great advantage when it comes to the fog of war that covers the whole battleground. Right, you cannot see much. Also, if the weather changes and there's you cannot see much, right? Also, in the night you cannot see much, and it's difficult to coordinate with such thing. Obviously it's way before any sort of radio communication or GPS or anything that we have now currently at our disposal in this modern age. So it was the most advanced piece of technology. Well, the Yellow Emperor eventually, obviously, won the battle. Otherwise, we might not have here what China is now. But it was not because of the soldiers that he had. It was because of another thing, another resource that gave him this advantage, and it was the south-facing chariot. I want to demonstrate on this story what a great strategic plan is. First of all, it's a plan that somehow has the right goals. For an army, the goals are very simple: to win, to defeat the enemy. For the business, the primary goal is also not that difficult. It's to make money, make profit, right? But it's not it. That's not all. Both army and the businesses have several other goals, right? For an army, it's not just to win, but there needs to be some sort of low-level tactical goals, right? You guys, you go this way. You guys, you go that way. We need to make sure that we have enough food and enough other resources, and we have our weapons ready. So all these things are goals, right? For a company, the same thing. I mean, yeah, we want to make profit, but we want to also make sure that our customers are satisfied, are happy, that we develop new products, and so on and so forth. So strategy is a bunch of goals, right? Now, management theory allowed us to create some sort of systems where these goals fit in, and then they're easier to basically implement as a part of a strategic plan. In a strategy, we talk about the hierarchy of goals. So there are goals that are very general: make money, do something meaningful, and very tactical. What will we do today when we start working? So that's two levels of goals, right? However, we'll go back to that deeper in some further videos as a part of this course. But now let's just say that strategic plan has clear goals. Now, that's not the only thing that you need in order to succeed. The second step is you need to understand your environment. What I mean by that, by understanding environment, I mean that you need to know what's happening outside of the window, right? You may have a great strategy, great plan, but if the market is going down, you might not sell. If the customers stop liking your product, you might need to change your strategy. That's out of your control, but you need to be aware of that. So analysis of environment is a critical part, a critical component of every good strategic plan. We can use tools to do that in management theory. We can use PEST, SWOT, TOWS, 5 forces model, all kinds of tools, and it will also be part of this, the discourse within our course. All right, the discussion. All right, let's go back to the third thing, and then this is the resources that you have to have. All right, no great plan can be executed without resources. You know, you might have a great ideas on how to take on Apple, but if you don't have the factory to produce your product, if you don't have the financial resources to back up this production, right? It's useless. It's just a plan, just an idea. You need physical things, people and ideas to back up your plans, right? In ideas, I mean, in the sense of know-how and things like that. So resources you definitely need. If you have the right resources, you can win, right? The Yellow Emperor had the right resources. Not only the people, but obviously he needed the people as well, but also he had this south-facing chariot, which gave him this major advantage. Okay. Last but not least, the crown jewel of every strategy is your competitive advantage. Competitive advantage. What is that? That is what you do better than the competition. In other words, you always compete in some sort of industry with others, right? If there's no competition, then it's some sort of monopoly or some other, specific industry. But in normal industries, in traditional industries, there's always competition. If there's no competition, maybe there's no business, right? So most likely you will be facing some sort of competition. Now, what is it that you better than others? Why should customer choose you instead of the competition? That is your competitive advantage. If you have something that consumers will, on the base of that, will choose you, then you have the competitive advantage. If you don't have it, you don't have your competitive advantage. So Ryanair or AirAsia has competitive advantage. They have competitive advantage because they can provide flights cheaper than the competition, right? Versace has competitive advantage because they produce way more trendier and higher quality clothes, right? So that is their competitive advantage. The discussion on competitive advantage, it will be also a separate part of a video that is yet to come.